The Your Safe Space podcast is recorded on Wurundjeri land. This podcast acknowledges the traditional owners and custodians of the land. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. Welcome to Your Safe Space, the podcast. I'm your host, Adele Marie, and this podcast is here for you. It is a safe space for us to catch up each week to discuss anything and everything. And on today's show, we are talking about lucky girl syndrome. Welcome back, guys. It is a Sunday deep dive. Happy Sunday. I hope you've had a good weekend. I hope that you've had a great start to January in 2023. How has it been? I am keen for you guys to hold some space for yourself. Maybe you listened to the AMA episode that dropped on Friday. Maybe you didn't. But, starting a new year can be overwhelming. There are lots of episodes at the end of 2022 that you can go back and listen to if you need some extra support. But I have missed you guys. I'm recording back today for the very first time for the year. And far out, I am not feeling super rusty because I just did the AMA ep. But I'm happy to be back. I'm really happy to be back, honestly. And again, I'm just so grateful for your support over the break, and I'm thankful that you guys still continue to listen to the show, still continue to download the show. And as usual on our Sunday ep, we talk about our highlight, our gratitude, and our struggles. So I really want you to hold some space for that for yourself. And I want you to think about your highlight, your gratitude and struggle this week. I will also put a post up tomorrow in the Facebook group so you can come and write it in there. I love reading what you guys write. So please come and do that. I am going to give you mine quickly. My highlight is the break. I felt pretty nice and rested to a degree. I still feel like I need another holiday, which I will take later this year, but I definitely enjoyed getting out in the sun. I enjoyed spending time with family, spending time with friends. I enjoyed a really nice Christmas, a really nice New Year's, and I've come back refreshed with lots of ideas and creativity ready for the year ahead. So very, very grateful for that. And also, I'm grateful for you guys for being here, firstly, supporting me over the break, and also doing the listener survey. So this will be the last week that the listener survey is up and available. It is the end of year one, but I've kept it going into January just because I wanted to give a chance to anyone who hasn't filled it out, a chance to fill it out. So please come and do that if you haven't already. And thank you so much if you had. Thank you. Thank you if you have, not had. Thank you if you have filled it out. I love you guys. And my struggle is just this week, getting back into the swing of things. It is proving to be a little bit of a struggle. The first day, Monday, I slept all the way through until like 9 a.m. Today, I actually woke up on time with my alarm. And so I'm going to try and get back into a morning routine. I really let my sleep schedule slip, but that's okay. I'm accepting that this is where I am, and I know I'll get back into routine. I've got plenty of time to get back into routine, so I'm not beating myself up about it. And you shouldn't be beating up yourself about it if that's your struggle too. It's very normal to struggle to get back into the swing of a new year after a busy last year. But guys, let's jump into today's show. I'm going rogue. Today we are talking about lucky girl syndrome, and some of you listening to this are going to know what I mean. Some of you listening to it are going to be like, what the fuck? Now, I saw this on TikTok. It's currently trending on TikTok. To me, I'm really fascinated by the mindset behind it, and I am excited. So we're going to go through what lucky girl syndrome is. I'm going to give you my take on it. I'm going to give you some examples of what lucky girl syndrome looks like, and I'm going to explain how you can become the lucky girl or person. I do want to be inclusive, but just for the purpose of the first bit of this show, it is lucky girl syndrome on TikTok. If you look up lucky girl syndrome on TikTok, it is trending at the moment. It has millions of views, and I really like that TikTok has coined this term. Of course, TikTok would make anything an error or a trend, but I love the idea of it. And if it has graced your For You page, then just know we have the same For You page. But if you are not on TikTok, what lucky girl syndrome is the solid belief that you are the luckiest person ever. It is a syndrome that you convince yourself you have. Example, I have a lucky girl syndrome, or I have the lucky girl syndrome because things are always working out for me. Everything is always working out for me. Everything is always going to plan. And you're probably sitting here thinking that sounds delusional, Adele. Well, that is the point. the trend on TikTok is urging other watchers or listeners or creators to really play into that delusion, to play into that, well, of course I've got the lucky girl syndrome. Of course things are working out for me. It's a fun way to shift your mindset and to lean into that delusion. And I think what I personally love about it is that it really challenges that almost default self-talk. And I haven't really spoken about this. I will do a different episode on internal self-talk. But before I started therapy, I had a very negative internal self-thought or internal self like a monologue. And I know not everyone speaks to themselves. I know not everyone has that internal voice, but I did. And I feel like this lucky girl syndrome really is like the antidote to that, because it challenges the thoughts or ideas that we would often have as humans, that we tend to think of worst case scenario, that we think that we are unlucky, that we think things are hard, that we think that we are not going to have anything work out for us, that we think that things are always going to be difficult for us. A lot of those thoughts and beliefs are default thinking patterns for a lot of us. And it's very common and it's very normal if you have that default thought pattern. But I really love that TikTok has kind of coined this and pushed this out, because it's like, well, people can have a real chance to switch that mindset up. And as I said, it's a direct antidote to that opposite mindset. And it's almost like, what's the harm in believing that you can be a lucky person? What's the harm in believing that, choosing this new belief and choosing a beautiful message to send to your brain or send to your subconscious? Like, what is the harm in that? What is the worst that could honestly happen? And I really just like how it's taking that and running with it, because what it does is it feeds you the good message. It feeds you a positive message. It feeds you the message that you are enough, that you are perfect exactly the way that you are. And a lot of this stuff I would always tell you guys anyway. You already have everything that you need within. As you are right now, you can be the lucky person. As you are right now, you can have things working out for you. You don't have to be perfect to have things working out. They're already working out because you're already perfect. It reinforces that idea that you are deserving. You are deserving right now. You are deserving as you are. You are deserving of what you want. And I also like that when things aren't going the way that you want, that's also when you can double down. And I'll talk a little bit about this at the end of the show. But for me, I really like to, when things aren't going my way, I still tell myself things are working out. I can't see it now, but things are still working out for me, and it will make sense down the track. That job, that relationship, that thing that you thought you wanted, maybe it didn't turn out the way that you expected, or maybe it didn't go the way that you had planned, because the perfect thing is still coming. Everything is still working out for you. And I feel like that belief or that mindset can really bring you some peace and solace in some difficult times. And there are a couple other things I want to just quickly, I guess, cover off before we jump into the examples or what it actually looks like. But in my research for the episode, some people believe that the lucky girl syndrome is based on Neville Goddard's law of assumption, which is a form of manifesting. Now, the law of assumption suggests that what we assume is true will become true. And I don't want to get too far into law of assumption, because I'm more interested in the mindset side today, and I will talk about the psychology behind it as well. But I thought it was important to mention in case you are interested in manifestation. I know some of you may be familiar with law of attraction. Law of assumption is different. And so if you want to do a little bit of research on that or unpacking that in your own spare time, you can. If you guys are also keen, I would love to do a future episode on manifesting. I think there are many different ways that you can manifest, and I know that manifestation borders on like that woo-woo side, but I would like to do an episode on that down the track. So if you are keen, let me know. But onto the psychology point of it. In my research, I found that it is backed by science, which we love. I would like to think that I am a science-based girly with a little bit of like woo-woo sprinkled in. I do love my science, and I do love my spirituality as well. I think I can hold both thoughts. I think I can hold both beliefs. But the science behind this is based on the broaden and build theory. So this theory was by Dr. Barbara Frederickson, and her theory is about emotions and how there is a difference between positive and negative emotions and how they are processed by our brains. And how there is also a really big difference in how long our emotions impact us for how long after we experience them. And it was so interesting reading this. I love I love psychology so much, but the theory suggests that when we experience a positive emotion like joy or love or gratitude, that it sends our brain into a positive upward spiral. And you're probably like, well, yeah, that makes sense, because it does, right? So what it does is it means that we then search and seek out resources to feel more positive and to take note of other good things in life. And I really resonate to like the lucky girl syndrome, and I really resonate to this theory, because in the theory, experiencing a positive emotion literally broadens our perspective and changes how we see the world and see ourselves. And it's a bit like how I tell you guys, practice gratitude. Gratitude is the attitude. I know it's cheesy, but it's fucking true, because when you practice gratitude consistently, what your mind does is then seek out more things to be grateful for. It seeks out more good things. And it's the same with, I'll give you a different example. And it's not to do with gratitude or lucky girl syndrome, but it's like when you're looking to buy a car, right? You're looking for a certain make and model and color of a car. All of a sudden, as you're like carrying on with your life while you're looking for this car, you see this car fucking everywhere. It's all over the road. Everyone's suddenly driving this car make and model. The reason this happens, and I actually have this with sausage dogs as well. It's like I've got this internal sausage dog radar. Other sausage dog owners might relate to me, but I can seek out a dashie from a mile away. Again, the reason this happens is because our subconscious brain, if you can think about it, is like a search engine. So if you feed it good things, it will seek out good things. If you feed it things, it will then go and seek it out in your reality. And I find that so fascinating and so cool. And then lastly, before I get into the examples, I also need to mention privilege. I do, as I said, I believe in the lucky girl mindset, and I believe in taking action, whether it's in, your mindset or manifesting or in your tasks. But it would be very naive of me and irresponsible of me not to mention the fact that privilege can sometimes sit behind these manifestation tactics or these trends, especially with this lucky girl syndrome. And I say this because for some of us have to work a lot harder than the next person to have that lucky girl syndrome or to manifest that dream life. Things like disability, race, sex, gender, our socioeconomic background, the way that we brought up, things that are often out of our control but can impact the way that someone sees the world and experiences the world, still play a part. And I didn't want to do this episode and not take that into account. I guess what I'm trying to say is that everyone can practice the lucky girl syndrome or the lucky girl mindset or the lucky person mindset, but some of us do need to work harder for it. And I just wanted to make a mention of that. All right, now I need a quick drink break. Hang on. Got my Yeti bottle. Oh, look, I'm matching. I'm obsessed with this bottle, guys. I would love a Yeti sponsorship. Yeti, if you are listening to this, reach out to me, please. I love you guys. Sorry, I'm recording 2 podcasts back to back, so my throat. Now, we're going to go into some examples. I'm going to give you some examples of lucky girl syndrome, and I will put a Facebook group post up in the podcast group after this because I want to see your examples of lucky girl syndrome. And I think when we see other people's examples, we can then seek out more examples of our own. So I think it's a really cool way to do that. But I feel like I've always had lucky girl syndrome, and with hindsight is a beautiful thing, but I didn't become aware of it until therapy. And I mentioned this before. I didn't really understand my own self-talk until I did some work on it in therapy. I didn't really understand how negatively I was speaking to myself until therapy. And so until I watched my self-talk, until I monitored my self-talk, that is when I started to change it and started to talk to myself a lot kinder, with a lot more compassion, with a lot more love. And the first example I'm going to give you is the breakup that started this whole journey that changed my life. Because had it not been for that guy breaking the fuck out of my heart, I wouldn't have posted the healing journey. I wouldn't have even posted on TikTok. I wouldn't have then started my YouTube, started this podcast. And I think to myself, and I've said it many times, I am so grateful, but I'm so lucky that he broke up with me because 1, why would I want to be with somebody that doesn't want to be with me? Firstly. And 2, he changed my life. So thank you. I'm so lucky. I have some smaller examples. Firstly, finding a car park. Whenever I am by myself, I always find a car park, no problems. I never really have an issue finding a car park. And I always think to myself, of course, I'm always going to find a car park because I'm just so lucky. My dad, on the other hand, he has this internal belief that finding a car park is always difficult. Before we even go somewhere, he's always like, the parking's going to be bad. The parking's going to be terrible. And I tell you, 9.5 times out of 10, he will, if we're all in the car together, he'll drop us off and then he'll go find a park. And it has been like that since childhood because he believes he's not going to be able to find a park. And so of course he's not going to be able to find a park. And I always get nervous when he's in the car with me and I'm driving because I'm like, shh, we're going to find a car park. I don't want to hear it. And I always find a good car park, a close car park, a decent car park. And of course I do because I'm lucky. Another small example, this is wild. I was in Messina one night. I love Messina. I haven't had that in a little while. And I was ordering and the girl had like complimented, I think, my jacket or jumper. I can't remember what I was wearing. And she was like, oh my God, I love your jacket. And I was like, oh my God, thank you. I said, I got it from this place and if you use this discount code, you'll get a discount. This was like 4 or 5 years ago, by the way. It wasn't my discount code. I gave her someone else's, but I was like, if she wants to buy it, I want her to have a cheap it's on sale. I want her to have the jacket on sale. And she was like, oh my God, thank you so much. That's so lovely. Like, no one ever really tells me where their jacket's from, let alone gives me a discount. And you know what she went and did? She gave me my scoop of Messina for free. That's not the first time that something like that has happened where I've been given a free coffee or I've been given something for free. I don't know why it happens, but again, I do know why. It's because I'm really lucky. Another bigger example, and I think this would be my last example that I'll give to you, but there was a job that I really wanted in 2018 and I was so excited for this job. I had done so much preparation for it. I had practice in the interview. I had the best CV. I had really good, I had really good references and I felt like really primed and ready to smash this interview. And I thought I gave a really good interview and then I didn't get the job. And I was excited because it would have been a step up. It would have been a promotion. And obviously I didn't get it. And I felt so terrible after that. But what would then go on to happen literally 6 weeks later is I would get another job, except this job would be in Sydney in another state. And it would be like double the amount of money I would have gotten by getting that last job. And so I was better off financially. I was better off career-wise, and I got to move states as well. And so I look back now and I think, if I got that job and I then didn't move to Sydney, what would my life look like now? Fuck, that would have changed the whole trajectory of my life. Moving to Sydney changed me as a person. Moving away from my family changed me as a person. Moving away just changed me a lot. And so there are so many moments like that in hindsight where I can look back and think, I got really lucky. Things worked out really well, but of course they did. Of course they did. I'm the luckiest. Why wouldn't they? And so that leads me to the best part of this episode, how you can have the lucky girl syndrome or the lucky person syndrome. And as I said, I really just like to look at this as a mindset tool. It's a mindset tool to bring awareness to what you were telling yourself. And it's a mindset tool to bring awareness to how often you're telling yourself the opposite things, how often you're telling yourself that things don't work out, that things are hard, that things are not going in your favor. If you can work towards improving your self-talk to something more positive, more productive, that will start to change how you feel day to day. And I like to look at it as a practice. And with everything, guys, I say this all the time whenever we do that, like inner work, kindness and compassion always, please, always. And no judgment. If you are noticing that after listening to this that you talk to yourself really negatively, no judgment, no judgment. I promise when I started doing this with my psychologist, I had a meltdown because I was like, oh my God, I talk to Franklin so nicely. Like I talk to Franklin so sweetly. If you hear me speak to Franklin, I tell him how perfect he is. I tell him how much I love him. I tell him, you know, all these beautiful things every day. And I always say to him, I hope you know how much I love you. And I was talking to myself the fucking total opposite of that. I was talking to myself like shit. And I was like, wow, I'm talking to my dog better than I talk to myself. And that was a little bit of a wake up for me. But again, no shame, no guilt. We were doing the best we could until we knew better. And so I'm going to teach you how to do better. And I kind of already said this, but I don't want you to see the time that you were speaking negatively or thinking negatively about yourself and beating yourself up about it. This takes time. It's a practice. And I even like to think maybe you can play like a little game with yourself. But the very first step is to become aware. So become aware of said thoughts and become aware of these beliefs. typically I notice them coming up for myself, and this is why I love journaling, but they would always come up for me like on a day-to-day basis, like when I was doing something, if something didn't go to plan, or if something went wrong, or if something happened. When those thoughts come up and when you're able to start catching them, what you need to do is replace them with a new thought. And I'm going to give you some new thought examples. These are just 5 that I have, but you can always find some more. If you Google Lucky Girl affirmations, there's so many on Google right now or on TikTok. But some of the new thoughts or beliefs that you can pick instead are these. So number 1, everything is always working out for me. And I think I've told you guys this. I feel a little delusional because I truly believe that. I mean, shit could be really going wrong and I'm like, this is working out. Like, it's still working out. But number 2 is I deserve good things. Yes, you do. Number 3 is I am blessed with good luck. Or you can even put luck is always on my side. Number 4, I deserve my dreams simply because I exist. I deserve my dreams simply because I exist. Absolutely you do. Existing is all you have to do. And then my last one, which is my favorite one, is I am whole and enough exactly as I am. Now, I have these like ingrained into my brain. So for me, it's very easily for me to just default to this thought now. But if that is not a default thought for you, what I would recommend is maybe putting it as your phone background. Maybe you want to put it on your vision board. Maybe you want to write it on Post-it notes, stick it on your mirror, stick it inside your wardrobe, stick it on your computer screen. Maybe you want to rewrite these down every morning in your journal. Maybe you want to repeat these to yourself while you're brushing your teeth. There are many ways that you can go about putting these into your subconscious mind. Obviously, find the way that feels best for you until it becomes a subconscious non-effort effort. I want to say there are some of us who are naturally more optimistic and already doing this. If that is you, amazing. Keep doing it. You're already the lucky person. If you do have to work at it, be patient. It does take time, but I know that you can also get there as well. And my last note is I always want to provide like a balanced whole approach, but I do think I have a duty of care, and it's because I come on here and I always say, feel your feelings, feel your fucking feelings, even the uncomfortable ones. It is important to keep a balanced approach with this mindset if you are going to practice this. And I say this because there are still going to be things in life that are really bad that happen. There are still going to be negative experiences. There's still going to be grief. There's still going to be very uncomfortable and uncomfy emotions that will arise, that will come up. And I still want you to feel them. I don't want you to go so hard on this like lucky girl syndrome that it borders that like toxic positivity bullshit. I don't want that. I would rather you process and feel those uncomfortable emotions and feel those uncomfortable feelings and sit with that before then trying to move to practicing gratitude, even to practicing the lucky girl syndrome, to practicing that abundance mindset. It's really important that you don't immediately discredit any negative things and just be like, oh, well, you know, so-and-so died and oh, I'm so lucky because of that. No, someone passing away is really bad. Some really bad things happening in your life are really bad, and that's okay as well. Things can still be really bad, but it's just important to keep that balance, because I never want to come on here and tell you to be positive all the time or lucky all the time, or I just think that's irresponsible of me. So I wanted to end it there. But guys, I'm going to wrap up today's show. I hope you enjoyed this. I know it was really rogue, but I just thought I'm going to jump on it because it caught my attention, and I really feel like there's some good mindset behavior there behind it that you can implement if you are wanting to. But thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you have had a beautiful weekend. I hope that you have a beautiful week ahead. If you are not already part of our Facebook community, come and join us. If you are not following us on Instagram, come and follow us. All the links to this are in the show notes. And if you haven't, please leave us a review on Apple or leave us a rating on Spotify. And as I said, please do the listener survey. It will close this week. I think it will close, what day will this episode go live? It will it will go live on the 15th. I'm going to say it'll probably close on like the 18th. I'll close it on the Wednesday. But please do it if you haven't. If you have done it, thank you so much. I'm so grateful. I love you guys. Have the best week ahead, and I hope something magical happens to you. I'll see you next time. Bye.